We're learning more about the victims who survived this ordeal and are being cared for by emergency room doctors now.
10 TV's Cierra Johnson is live at the Ohio State University Medical Center with new developments tonight. Cierra?
Yes, outside here at Wexner Medical Center, all is quiet, but inside, this hospital served as the receiving area for 3 of those injured in that fair ride. Right now, 3 are in critical condition. We're being told by a surgeon that they're suffering primarily orthopedic injuries. Now, doctors cannot elaborate on the extent of those injuries because all of the family has not been notified, but we have learned the injured, 2 of which were in their teens or early 20s, and 1 was an older patient. Now, a trauma surgeon with the hospital told me they prepare for incidents like this, and they had doctors on call and emergency beds and operating rooms open and ready, but no additional staff was needed to tend to the injured, and this incident did not affect the emergency room traffic in any way. The surgeon I spoke with, Dr. David Evans, did mention the incident with the prevalence of cell phones. They were able to use that cell phone video to enhance the way they treated their patients. Take a listen.
When we were informed that patients had fallen off of a carnival ride, while we understood that they were serious injuries by what we saw, when they came to the hospital, having that video really showed us that this was a great force and a great mechanism, really consistent with a very high-speed motor vehicle crash, with an ejection, something more along those lines. And so with the information about the speeds that were associated and the force of the impact, we were able to do the appropriate imaging like CAT scans and look for all the appropriate injuries.
In addition to those being treated here at Wexner, 3 were also taken to Grant. As for the individuals here, doctors are telling us, although they could not elaborate on the extent of their injuries, they may be staying here for about a week. I'm live downtown outside of Wexner Medical Center. Cierra Johnson, 10 TV News.
Thanks, Cierra.
There's still a sense of excitement.
We come for the meals, so that's ours. But the kids, they come for the rides and they come for the entertainment.
But it's hard to ignore the feeling of concern.
Until the ride's done, there's going to be some, because like I said, there really is. You never really know for sure.
On the eve of the first weekend of the Ohio State Fair, signs of the opening day tragedy remain.
The fair is about the best things in life, and then tonight with this accident, it becomes a terrible, terrible tragedy.
Just hours after the section of the Fireball ride broke loose, killing 18-year-old Tyler Jarrell and injuring 7 others, Governor Kasich ordered every ride at the fair to shut down. But Friday, some of the smaller, low-impact, low-risk rides, like the Giant Slide and the Sky Glider, opened to riders.
They're not aggressive. At this point, there really isn't a concern.
But some fair goers like Julie Marshall say despite these rides getting an additional okay from state inspectors, the fear of ride malfunction is still there.
We wouldn't ride any of the rides over there. We would not ride them after what happened. I think we don't want to take risks like that.
I guess, if you've seen the video, it kind of looks like it was put together with Legos almost, and it's a tragedy.
Remembering a teenager whose life was cut way too short last week after a tragedy at the state fair. Visitation is underway for Tyler Jarrell. Tyler was on the Fireball last Wednesday evening when an arm of that ride just snapped off. That sent people crashing to the ground.
Tyler died at the scene and 7 others were injured. 10 TV's Cierra Johnson is live in Grove City where family and friends are paying their respects. Cierra?
Yes, since about 4 o'clock, we've seen people come in and out of this funeral home paying respects to that 18-year-old killed on the opening day of the Ohio State Fair. Family, friends, neighbors, and many classmates have been through to honor this young man. But we've also seen nearly 15 to 20 officers and deputies from local law enforcement agencies. That's because friends of the teen tell me he was an active member of the ROTC and the Columbus Police Explorers program and had aspirations of going into law enforcement. And just a few weeks ago, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps. Members of this community I spoke with say the outpouring of support has been overwhelming, and the community is still in shock at a bright future cut short.
Lots of emotions, lots of different people from the community, lots of different people he's met in his life. Just a lot of tears. It's a very good loss, a big loss. You don't have something like this happen every day.
for friends and those wanting to pay their respects to Tyler. The visitation here goes until 8 o'clock, and tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock at Grove City United Methodist Church, the funeral will be held. I'm live in Grove City. Cierra Johnson, 10 TV News.
10 TV's Cierra Johnson has information about how parents can pick up their child safely while police investigate this shooting. Cierra?
Yes, right now I am in the front parking lot of Walnut Ridge High School, and the park we're speaking of is Big Walnut, and it's about 100 yards down the road. And if you can actually see, the road is blocked off, but they are allowing parents, if they're willing, to walk to the park to pick up your child. Now again, CPD did find a person shot in front of this parking lot. He was later transported to Grant Hospital. Now right now we're going to go to that chopper video. It's video of the park, and it's inside of this park that parents are telling us there is a day camp with about 30 to 40 7 to 12-year-olds. It's through Columbus Parks and Rec. I did speak briefly with the counselor, but she would not confirm any details. But parents are telling me they received a call from counselors explaining their campers were safe in a building at the park, and the building is on lockdown. I did have a chance to speak with a parent on camera of a 7-year-old camper, and here is what he had to say.
It's a little disturbing, you know. Camp's an awesome thing. He loves camp, but it's pretty close to home there. It's kind of scary.
And back out here in front of Walnut Ridge front parking lot of Walnut Ridge High School, there is actually football practice going on. When we first arrived on scene, there were still parents dropping their athlete off. An officer tells me that practice here is canceled. Again, there was one person shot in front of Big Walnut Park. That person was transported to Grant Hospital. 30 to 40 campers are being held inside of a secured building at the park. And again, practice here at Walnut Ridge is canceled for this evening because of the proximity to the scene. We will continue to bring you details as they become available for you both online and on air. I'm reporting live from the city's east side. Cierra Johnson, 10 TV News.
Tonight we're learning more from police and those little campers who found themselves too close to a crime scene. Good evening, I'm Jerry Revish.
And I'm Yolanda Harris. Those kids are all safe thanks to quick thinking camp counselors. The situation unfolded near Big Walnut Park just off East Livingston Avenue. Now on 10, Cierra Johnson has been covering this story all evening. She's live at Grant Medical Center tonight where the shooting victim is recovering. Cierra?
That's right. Tonight, 19-year-old Tawan Stanley is inside of Grant Medical Center recovering from his injuries. Columbus police tell us the teen was walking in front of Big Walnut Park when he heard the gunshots, looked down and realized he had been shot. And it was at that moment that day camp went into lockdown.
We were in the woods walking back to our camp, and then we heard the gunshots, so then we went inside.
8-year-old Brandon Brookins says an afternoon in the woods was quickly interrupted when gunfire rang out near Big Walnut Park on Livingston Avenue.
I was thinking what was going on.
It was around 3 p.m. when CPD arrived outside of the park to find 19-year-old Tawan Stanley bleeding from his back and chest with a gunshot wound. Brookins and 24 other children were at a day camp inside the park. They were quickly ushered into a shelter and placed on lockdown. Counselors then began calling parents, alerting them of the camp's lockdown status, but unsure of what was happening outside of the walls, nothing more.
Very disturbing, very disturbing. I was wondering how he was doing, how much of it he was actually exposed to.
It didn't take long for parents to arrive to see if their little one was okay and take them home.
It's a little disturbing, you know. Camp's an awesome thing. He loves camp, but it's pretty close to home there. It's kind of scary.
And despite the uncertainty of the situation, many parents praised camp counselors and staff at the Columbus Parks and Recreation for their quick action and communication.
They have amazing counselors, so I'm sure they're making it as smooth and comforting to them as possible.
The victim was taken to Grant Hospital, and police are still on the hunt for the shooter. As for these parents, they say they will hold their kids a bit tighter tonight.
Because I know a lot of times anything can happen while you're at work and your kids are away at camp. You just have to pray and make sure that everything's okay.
And in addition to that camp going on lockdown, Walnut Ridge, which is right across the street from that park, also canceled their evening football practices. And again, I'm outside of Grant Medical Center where 19-year-old Tawan Stanley has been upgraded from critical to stable condition. I'm live in downtown Columbus. Cierra Johnson, 10 TV News. Yes, Jerry and Yolanda, we have learned that that male in his 20s was shot multiple times in his back. He has been upgraded from critical to stable condition. Now, again, this is a very fluid situation, but we can tell you what we do know. Investigators tell me that they responded to a call here at this plaza around 9:38. It was there that they say a man walked in, shot, and they then called the medics. Medics responded and transported him to Mount Carmel West Hospital. But investigators say the story actually begins a few blocks down the road. They say he was actually shot in the parking lot of the Wedgwood apartment complex. It was from there he walked to this plaza where he was given aid. Again, a man in his 20s was shot multiple times in his back. His condition has been upgraded from critical to stable condition. They are still looking for suspects, and again, this situation does remain under investigation. On the city's west side, Cierra Johnson, 10 TV News. If you're over the age of 18 and looking to get your license, the state of Ohio has just upped the ante. Now there's more at risk if you don't pass your first time. Directors here with the Union County Fair say each and every morning and after it rains, each ride goes through a thorough investigation. Everything from the bolts on the ride, the cages on the ride, even the straps that secure the riders are checked. And in addition to the rides, the ride operators are also trained. With the heat index surpassing 100 degrees, you could hit an outdoor pool, or you could head indoors for some family-friendly, low-cost ways to stay cool.
New tonight, the skies over Columbus lit up in the colors of our nation. Red, White, and Boom, Ohio's largest fireworks show, drew hundreds of thousands to downtown. And all of those revelers are heading home at the same time. You're looking at live pictures from Chopper 10. The traffic on North High Street is backed up for blocks, maybe miles tonight. Good evening. Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm Jerry Ravish. It is a tradition that draws nearly 500,000 people every year to downtown Columbus. And we have crews tracking the forecast, the fireworks, and the fans tonight. We begin with 10 TV's Cierra Johnson, who spent the evening with diehard fireworks watchers. Cierra.
Yeah, it's definitely a tradition here in Central Ohio, and this year Red, White, and Boom definitely did not disappoint. But for the folks we spoke with, it's about the fireworks, it's about the food, but it's definitely about spending time with your family.
For the land of the free.
It's a Central Ohio tradition.
We are huge into the 4th. We're huge into Americana. So we come every year. We stay all day long.
And for thousands of families like the Bowers, Red, White, and Boom begins hours before the grand finale.
We've just been chilling out. I've been reading a book. The boys have been playing football and playing Uno. So we're just hanging out.
When you throw it.
All dressed in matching t-shirts, this family says today is the day you spend with loved ones.
I'm ready for the fireworks.
And a time to honor those who have served.
Just hanging out with family and friends, just trying to have a good time.
Each year, the riverfront swells with 400,000 people gathering to watch the firework display. Each family has their own traditions, and some are creating their own.
My mother, she was a veteran. She is a veteran from Air Force, and so is my dad. He's a Navy veteran over here. So, I mean, it means a lot to just come out and spend the time with each other.
It's safe to say tonight is a night when memories are made.
You can see things behind me are starting to wrap up. The band just stopped performing, but there's still a lot of people out here. The city has not released the official attendance numbers, but a couple officers I did speak with say they noticed the crowds were smaller than in years past. I'm live in downtown Columbus. Cierra Johnson, 10 TV News.